Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
Women aren't any better than men at multitasking at all. What fresh hell?
Laughing in the face of motherhood. This is the reason why people turn down the music when they're parking.
With Margaret Abels
and Amy Wilson. Being able to do only one thing at a time is a privilege.
A podcast that solves today's parenting dilemmas
so you don't have to. It's not lost until mom can't find it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Fresh Hell Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy, and today we're going to talk about multitasking.
Multitasking, not my forte.
I have lots of research and studies. Spoiler alert, it's not anyone's forte, so we're going to talk about that.
Love that. Guilt-free.
We think one set of things about multitasking, turns out a whole other set of things are true. This is based on research that I did for Happy to Help, my new book, which is out now. And I really hope that you will buy it, review it on Amazon, tell your friends about it, tell your parents' association to come have me talk about it. It's out, it's happening, and it's going well, but I really appreciate everybody's help.
Awesome.
All right, let's talk about the definition of multitasking. This comes from Leah Rupaner, who's a sociologist. I quote her in Happy to Help. She has a new podcast, by the way, called Misperceived. That's kind of like this one. I mean, she's by herself, and in each episode, she's like, is this a thing? Here's why it's not a thing. We're kindred spirits. So anyway, I'll link to it in the show notes because it's a good podcast. She defines multitasking this way. She says, multitasking is the act of performing several independent tasks within a short time. It requires rapidly and frequently switching attention from one task to another, increasing the cognitive demand compared to completing single tasks in sequence.
Yeah, I've been in a multitasking mode lately. My husband's been traveling for work, and we got midterms going on, and I have been doing a ton of I will send that email while I help you learn about the American Revolution, while I sort of half cogitate on what we're going to eat in an hour. And it feels awful in my bones. I really dislike it.
We have talked in the past about, too, for little kids, the whole Mom, will you play with me thing, that you get more out of really engaging with them and the Magna-Tiles for 10 minutes and not doing anything else, and then going and making dinner and they're happy.
Right. As opposed to sitting and looking at your computer and being like, yeah, your fort looks good.
Right.
Yeah.
Barbie said
yeah.
What?
Look, you added a tower. Right. And this is such a hard lesson to learn. And it's one of those lessons you learn 1,000 times, not one time, that doing one thing well, it bears more fruit than doing 60 things kind of at 5%.
And yet there are times that I really love doing it. I ride the Peloton, and I really like Cody, and I just don't want to just listen to him for half an hour. So I might ride and listen to a podcast, or ride with Cody and let me just send this one quick email while I'm still warming up. And because I find it boring to just sit there for a whole half hour and look at one thing. I think that my attention has become fractured. And so we crave multitasking, and I can tell in the numbers. You know, when you ride the Peloton, you get power points or whatever they're called for how fast you ride, and you're trying to get more points than you did the last time. I can tell, like, I'm 10 to 15% down in how much effort I put into the bike.
While you're also emailing?
When I'm also doing a podcast.
I mean, if that was not true, Amy, I would really have some follow-up questions for you.
I have data. I have data to prove that it's not as good as just riding.
I have a friend who used to work in banking, and she was talking about how she would drive from Los Angeles to San Diego and she had a fax machine that plugged into her cigarette lighter, and she would be sending faxes while driving to San Diego. I'm like,
which involved feeding paper, like in the passenger seat. Like, nobody listening knows what a fax machine is, but
it's funny when you live in LA. I'm sure somebody has done this Tumblr of like things you've seen people doing in LA in cars.
Because you live in your car.
You live in your car and you're often stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
But we did once drive past a lady who was driving. Now, this is 100% true. Driving her car and shaving her legs at the same time. She had a leg up on the dash.
A basin in the passenger seat? Is there anything?
I don't know what the system was, but let me tell you.
That's awful.
She was shaving her legs. And I get that things are boring. And I also think, and this is going to come out in studies in 20 years, that what you said is really true, that I feel like our ability to concentrate on one thing at a time, the idea that I would now ever fold laundry and think deep thoughts is gone from my life. Like, I will have some 17-year-old episode of Real Housewives on while I fold laundry. I have to have my mind occupied at all times by useless drivel.
Right. And we're here for you. We're totally in favor of podcast listening while you do boring, annoying, repetitive tasks. We're here for you.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you're doing something that requires your attention, your full attention, there's costs. And yet you have to do stuff. So if your kid needs a birthday present and you're on Zooms all day, you're going to be like smiling and nodding and also shopping Target.com in a separate browser window.
Right. That seems totally fine to me.
Well, I mean, you're probably neither fully attending to the meeting nor fully attending to, is this the guy that he actually wanted? You know, but yeah, you're doing both not particularly well. But what choice do you have, right? Like, the woman had to shave her legs. She lives in a sexist world. She can't go to the meeting with hairy legs. She overslept. What is she supposed to do?
I don't know. But I don't think that. I think that's just wear pants, throw some leggings on.
Okay. So also on top of this is this idea that women are naturally better multitaskers than men. That's out there in the zeitgeist. It's just true. Women's and men's brains are different, and women are better at multitasking.
Yeah, that's an absolute, I believe, and I believed until I read a certain red-covered book called Happy to Help.
That's right. Turns out that's not true. But I wanted to talk about something that's out there right now that's really funny, which is people on TikTok are doing the multitasking challenge.
Oh.
And it's usually between men and women. And the videos, we'll link to one in the show notes, are like, the videos are different examples of this. A woman sits down with her male partner and she gives him, the most famous one is she gives him a Christmas tree to cut out of construction paper. In other words, the construction paper is there, the Christmas tree is drawn on it, and all you have to do is cut it out. Like, a first grader can do as much. And here's this, I want you to cut this out. And while you do so, I want you to tell the story of how we met. In video after video, to hilarious failure, the guys in these videos absolutely cannot cut out something that's already been drawn from a piece of paper and tell a story at the same time. They turn into these 8-minute videos where they've still gotten like, so then I drove up to your house and the Christmas tree isn't cut out right, because they cannot do these two things at once. And it's very funny. And the gist of it is like, see how bad men are at this? See how bad men are at multitasking. And it's really funny. But they're not having women cutting Christmas trees out of construction paper and telling a story at the same time. It's just like, look at my dumb husband doing this.
I feel like I could do that really easily. I'm going to have to try.
I feel like I could do it really fine, too. I know. We should do a live
cutting of Christmas trees.
Let's all sit down together. Right. Our next episode, I'm going to cut out Christmas trees while we talk.
While we record the episode, yeah.
While I ride the Peloton and we talk.
There you go. You got to answer at least one email.
But yeah, so there's this idea that's sort of underlying, and it's very funny, is like, see that? Men can't do this at all. I think I probably could do it pretty well, but I'm going to argue that that is probably because women, that we've downloaded this idea that we're better at multitasking, and we do so much more of it that it's a learned skill.
I also wonder, and I'm about to sound extremely gendered, and I acknowledge that, whether there would be two tasks that you would have more trouble doing than that. You know, that storytelling for women and telling the story of how you met, I feel like that is in my bones. I feel like I could do that while juggling knives, you know?
And that's a harder question for the guy. Like, gee, I never tell this story.
What do you... Yeah, but do you? I don't know. I'm not sure what that's testing, and I'm not sure if there's not a version of that would be harder for, maybe not women, but harder for different people. Different people might not have that skill.
I think why it's funny is it looks like that's something that's very easy to do. That's something that small children do. But I'm figuring it out right now as I'm saying it. It requires your full attention.
Right. Cutting along a line.
Because you have to look down at the paper. You're cutting along the line. So you're maintaining the line. You're watching something. Because it's like, it's traced. All they have to do is trace it. But that's actually why it's a little bit harder, because you have to look at it. You can't just cut something. You have to attend and maintain a line while also freestyling about something. It isn't like, I'm going to say the Pledge of Allegiance while you do this. Say something you have memorized.
Right. You have to come up with something. It's kind of patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time. It's different hemispheres of the brain.
So I wanted to talk about some of the history about why we have this idea that women are better at multitasking. Because my thesis for you is that if we're better at multitasking, it's because we have a lot more practice at it. It's not because our brains are actually different in this way, but it involves going through the studies. Okay. So the reason we think this is back in the 90s, there was this idea that men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Yes, right.
Gather around, Gen Z, I'm going to tell you about this, right? There was this...
Come to us, youngs.
It just was out there. They're like, we're so different in every way. There was a Broadway show called Defending the Caveman that was all about how men are basically still cavemen and women are still like stirring the pot over the fire. And it's just how we are. We're so different.
Sure. This goes bone deep. Yes.
Right. And so in the 90s, somebody set out to study whether women's and men's brains were different. And they found, in this one study at least, that there was more white matter connecting the two hemispheres of women's brains than men's brains. Okay, so what's white matter, right? White matter is thought to facilitate connections between the brain's processing centers. It builds connections within your brain. So the scientists were like, well, there's more white matter, so that probably means women are better at multitasking. I mean, it seems like a big jump to me, but that was it. And then we ran with it. And then it was in Time and Newsweek, and that became the thing, that women are just better at multitasking. In 2013, a group of scientists, there were 4 men, that matters, set out to prove whether they could prove that women's and men's multitasking abilities differed, which they tied to executive function.
Executive function means like your ability to put things in the correct order to operate, right? I mean, it's like high level thinking. What is executive function?
It's the ability to remember multiple things that you have going at once, to like keep track of where your passport is, to know that you have 3 phone calls to return today, and you'll just remember, like you're just keeping that in your head somewhere. It's on your operating screen, is clear and organized, and what you need to do stays on it rather than falls off it, I would say. That's executive function. So I guess that makes sense. You need to have that for multitasking. It's not the same thing, but okay, fine. So the way they tested it is they took male and female participants to a field, to a grassy field, and they told them that there was a key that was lost somewhere in the field and that they had to find it. And then, so you're wandering out to the middle of this field and you're just looking for a key without any clue of where it's going to be in the field. And then while these people were looking for the key, their phone would ring in their pocket, and it would be somebody asking them trivia questions that they had to try to answer while they kept looking for the key.
This is every single thing you're saying is my absolute nightmare, but okay, go ahead. Don't want to look for the key. Don't want to answer trivia questions.
Ever.
Don't want to do both at the same time.
So the study showed that men and women were actually equally bad at answering trivia questions
while looking for a key.
While they were trying to do something else. But nobody was good at answering the trivia questions. But the women were much better at finding the key. And this is why. Because the women tended, I mean, I'm generalizing, but this is what the study says. Female participants, when they were told they have to find a key somewhere in the field, would attack it with a plan. They'd go back and forth across the field, the lawnmower, right? Like, I'm going to start here and I'm going to move across. And
the men were just like, I got this.
The male participants just wandered to the middle of the field and started looking around like John Travolta in that meme. Like, oh, I don't see any key. I don't know. I can't find it. They had no strategy and no plan and they didn't find the key, and the women did. So they use these results to say, see, women really are better at multitasking. When I don't think that study proves that at all.
No.
I think it proves that women are better at finding lost things because they're really used to doing that.
That's funny. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Like women have a way of finding lost things.
Right. And it's because we've had a lot of experience.
It's not lost until mom can't find it.
That's right. Exactly. Okay. We'll be right back with even more about multitasking.
Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today and let us surprise you.
All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE.
So Amy found another study. In 2016, 3 female scientists did a broad study in which they found that women are absolutely not any better or different than men at doing anything that requires dual cognitive process at the same time. Dual cognitive process is
Processing.
doing 2 things at once, right? Like it's finding a key while you answer trivia questions.
Yeah, it's multitasking. It's 2 cognitive processes, which this study showed, of course, they negatively affect each other.
Right. But in the key study, the men would have been bad at finding the key even if they weren't answering trivia questions. And the women would have been good at finding the key even if they weren't answering trivia questions.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Right. But it's not because we're actually better at it. Should we talk a little bit more about how it grinds our gears?
Yes, please.
Okay. So Olivia Petter wrote this article for The Independent, and she explains, okay, so why it's a problem. We've shown in these studies that like multitasking slows us down, but why? There was a study in the Journal of Experimental Psychology that actually measured them switching tasks, and this time they're not in a field, they're sitting at a desk and they're answering this kind of thing on this piece of paper and this kind of thing on this piece of paper. And they noted there were costs to time, just a second or two. Every time you switch tasks, there's just a small hang time, a lag time that we don't even perceive. I'm not perceiving it while I'm riding the Peloton and sending emails. Look, I'm doing two things at once. No, you're not. You're either sending the email or riding the Peloton, and there's a second or two switching. And then that really adds up over time.
That makes sense to me. And I think that the bigger the task, the more this is true. Like even reading a book, it's why you use a bookmark, or I like to stop at a chapter break, because otherwise, by the time I get back to figuring out where I was and who is Jason and why does he have the donkey, I'm like, I don't care about this story anymore, right? Like picking up the thread of something. And you've talked about this, citing the deep work book, like the deep work book, not the workbook, but the book called Deep Work.
The book called.
That we absolutely overestimate our ability to dive in and out of work. That in fact, being able to deeply invest in work and figuring something out is, I think it's kind of a mysterious process, but it definitely is not aided by trying to do two things at once.
Well, yeah. And the deep work thing would say, he argues that it's really only possible to write that paper in college or, make the deck for the presentation if you're doing just that if you have your notifications shut off and your phone's in the other room or whatever, that concentration requires one thing, and that we really don't like to do that.
For sure. I definitely agree that we really don't like to do that.
Well, let me just check my phone real quick. Let me just see what's on TikTok real quick. And then you're down the rabbit hole and you're not multitasking at all. You're just scrolling. And he argues that it's really important to learn this skill because it's getting harder and harder to have it. So his argument is that in the future, only people who are really able to do one thing at a time are going to be able to actually accomplish big things, cure cancer, whatever. The people who cure cancer are not going to be looking at Instagram 2 hours a day, is his argument.
Excuse you, sir.
Give yourself, I'm putting words in his mouth, but he's right? Like you can't do hard things in the hum of our pinging notifications, even though it's much more fun to be there, even though it's much more fun to just check your email inbox all day and not actually accomplish anything.
And I think this has changed for a lot of people by post-pandemic, like working at home and being at home, and maybe your spouse is also at home, and finding yourself in a situation where, even if I'm not trying to ride the Peloton while we're recording, I can hear my kid who's at home because he doesn't have a midterm today walking around. And I know that I've got to pick someone else up at 11. And maybe I should try to get that laundry done before we do our next thing. And I don't self-identify as somebody who's like, I can do it all. Yay, look at me multitask. But the call of a million things is very distracting to me. And it's not so much multitasking as an active choice for me. It's multitasking as a little bit of a passive choice, which is I am at home. I could also clean this room or do the laundry that is just out of my eye line right here. And the feeling of there's so much to do informs my day-to-day life in a way that I'm probably not totally aware of.
Absolutely. Right. That's why sometimes I go to the library or something if I really need to get deep work done, as in writing or planning an episode or something like that. I won't do it when I can see the sink from where I'm working. I just can't.
Yeah, I often do. My husband has an office, and I will sometimes just go there to work. If I know I need to read something in depth or create a document or something, I'm often go somewhere else, even if I go to the library, because I have that instinct of I can't do that level of work with the laundry 4 feet behind my right shoulder.
Which gets back to why this matters, I think, because being able to do only one thing at a time is a privilege, right? To not have to also worry about the toddler over there, to not also have to worry about, what are we having for dinner? Women take on all of this additional work, and we've been sold a story that we're just better at doing 2 and 3 things at a time than men are. And we're doing all this extra work, but it's just extra work. It's just stuff that is grinding your gears just as much as it would a man's. And you're just taking it on because there's this idea that, well, you can handle that. You can handle doing all these things so gracefully because your brain just works that way. It doesn't work that way. It's just as hard for you. And you've been doing more work all this time without being any better at it.
I mean, cosign, agree 1,000%. And also, if we want to take it another step, being told that the work is kind of useless and that's why we can do it all. It's not hard. It's dumb. Of course, you can watch a baby and do laundry and like it undervalues the work itself as part of the definition of you can do it all. Right. I mean, this is the reason why people turn down the music when they're parking. It's literally like they fundamentally understand, but it's a biological imperative. Like your brain is saying, I need all of my effort to concentrate on parking. Are there things like you can whistle while you walk down the street? You can hold a conversation with someone while you take a walk. There are things that you can do two things together, but there are things that you can't.
And the harder the task gets, I wanted to go back because you had said something before, like probably the harder the task is, the harder it is to multitask. And yes, so they proved that when you're switching these tasks, I'm going back to this study. It was in the Journal of Experimental Psychology and Human Perception and Performance.
I love that title. I want a subscription for Christmas.
So these...
I don't really. Please don't get me a subscription to the journal.
I already have it. I'll send you mine. So they talked about these models that the brain is in when you're switching between tasks, which I thought was interesting because it's sort of explaining what we're trying to get at. You're shifting your goals and you're activating different sets of rules. So when you're cutting out the construction paper, there's a set of rules that you need to apply to that. That I guess that you're concentrating on this and you cut and you move the paper, whatever the rules are, your brain downloads those in microseconds, but it has a set of rules. And then Tell Me a Story About How We Met has a completely different set of rules. And so why it's hard is your brain is like, I'm applying these rules to this thing and I'm applying these completely different rules. They're not related at all. So you can imagine if you're trying to merge onto the freeway, right, with the kid in the back saying, knock, 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 knock. Right. That's why that joke is so funny. One thing is really hard, right? And one thing is really not important. But to your kid, those things are equally important. And why shouldn't you, mom, be able to do both of those things at once?
It's reminding me of old computers. So when computers really started computering and we would have home PCs, basically, they would kind of make a noise. If you asked them to do something really hard, they would be like, you could hear the gears going in the computer as it kind of fired up. And it would make a kind of almost a groaning, like a, I don't know, I can't do it. But, and that's what happens in your brain. It's like, nope, overload.
Yeah. So what are we going to do about this, right? I think we really do have to correct the perception that this is a natural ability we have, first for ourselves, because when you take on all of these little things and then you track and remember that each thing you have to do actually has 4 steps. You have to remember to get the birthday present. You have to get the birthday present. You have to track it to make sure it shows up. Then you have to wrap it. Then you have to make sure it goes in the bag by the door. You have to go through each of these things and you are told that you're just naturally better at these things. So you're going to keep doing them. And then you throw over the top, like, why am I such a dum-dum that I'm so bad at these things when my brain is supposed to be magically better at doing these things?
Well, that's what I was going to really talk about, is that I think the first step is realizing that you're bad at it because it can't be done. I mean, now there's all these competition game shows and it's like, okay, grab this log and bring it across the field and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, hurry. And sometimes we watch them and they're like, we think this is actually impossible. I mean, I'll give an example of this is that people don't like the term you're battling cancer, or you're a warrior. Like you, a person has a disease that medicine is trying to control, but you're not fighting harder or less hard against it and winning or losing against it.
That's right. Right. And if you died of cancer, it doesn't mean that you weren't sufficiently warrior. That's a good point.
Yeah, and I understand both sides of it, and I understand that there's an element where, I mean, I get it, but I think that the idea that, like, I am such an idiot that my keys ended up in the butter drawer in the fridge, it's because of multitasking. It's because of doing too many things. It's not because you can't handle it. And I feel like sometimes often we say on the podcast, like, your heart is hard and this is as hard as you think it is. And it can be a little tweet and a little bit like greeting card sentiment. But when you dig into the science, it is as hard as you think it is. And it is too hard for one person to do. And that is really valuable information.
Exactly. Okay, we'll take a break. We'll talk about what we do next.
My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com. Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand. And it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING.
And now, your guide to mom whining.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast.
The Daylight Savings Time whine.
Why is it so dark? I don't want to do ballet pickup. It's 4:52. It feels like midnight.
The What's for Dinner whine.
I don't know what's for dinner. Can't you just have cereal again? Why is it so dark?
The Why did I sign up to be holiday class mom whine.
Why did I sign up to be the holiday class mom? I'm not a creative person. I tried to think of something other than that handprint turkey thing, but the ideas on Pinterest all looked so scary and complicated.
The I'm cold whine.
There was no fall at all this year. Seriously, I went straight from complaining that I'm too hot right into complaining that I'm too cold with like no break at all. Can someone turn the heat up? I am freezing.
The I can't stand the whining whine.
Why do you keep whining? I gave you juice, then you whine for a cheese stick. I gave you a cheese stick, then you whine for something sweet. I gave you a cookie, now you're whining that you're bored. There is nothing that will stop the whining, is there? You will whine forever.
This has been your guide to mom whining.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast.
Here's the other thing I want to underline, which is that I don't want people to hear this as saying, so only do one thing at a time and also accomplish everything that you usually do. Just one thing at a time, right? Because once this has been established that there's all this extra work to be done and we'll stuff it into the crevices of our attention because we're better at it, we tend to keep doing it. And when something big gets handed to us, those things won't get done unless we multitask.
Yes.
You know, like there's times when I have 35 things going on and I have to call the doctor and so you start like making the phone call and typing the email at the same time because you have more to do than you have time to do it. And so it feels like multitasking is the only option, but it's not a good one.
Not a good one. Yeah. Yeah. I think that part of it, and this is something that is easy to say and hard to do, is accepting the premise that doing multiple things at the same time is not possible or is not a great idea. And realizing, I was just doing this yesterday. I was studying for midterms with one of my kids. We're like deep in the Magna Carta and stuff. I'm trying to remember it, try to cram it into their brain, everything else. Then I have a list of things I need to review and email. Then I have a bunch of people coming over for dinner. So I'm kind of shouting instructions to people about how to clean up. And I realize in the middle of that process, something's got to give. Like, let me wait on sending anything else out by email because I'm not even sending the right stuff. Like, I am riding two horses. I am doing a bad job at all of these things. And what I had to do was pull back a little bit and say, okay, we can study for an hour. And then I need, 20 minutes to review this email and send it. Then I need 40 minutes to prep for the people coming over. And then we could pick this back up at this time, whatever it is. That really just taking that moment to say, this isn't going badly because I am bad at it. This is going badly because I cannot study for American history, do a business function, and get ready for 10 people arriving for a football game at the same time. That's all there is to it. We call it moral neutrality. And it's taking out the thing of, I have to do it all. And I do think, and we don't like to bring it back to, what you're doing wrong, but I was doing wrong a little bit. The thing of, I can sit and yell my way through this. I can yell the facts into my kid's brain while yelling at my other two kids what can be done while trying to get my email done. And that, I think you have to just look at and say, when things feel out of control, it's probably because they're out of control. They're not out of control because you're such a dodo bird. They're out of control because you can't do those three things simultaneously.
That's right. And you might live in a household where everybody else thinks that you can.
Oh, yes, you definitely do. You already live in that household.
Yeah, this surprised me. I did a news show hit for Happy to Help, right? And what made me think we have to do this episode is that the two hosts completely sat up when I said, as it turns out, women aren't any better than men at multitasking at all. And they both were like, we're not. They were fascinated. These two, women in their 30s, 40s. And then my teenage son, my college age son, texted me right after the segment. And he's like, that isn't true about multitasking? I always thought that was true. And I thought, wow, this is really that a 20-year-old would think mom's just better at this stuff than I would be, than my father would be. And that these very successful women are like, wait, I'm not better at it. And it just like everybody sat up. And I thought, wow, this really needs to be talked about and gotten out there because we are all laboring under this misapprehension. And I don't mean march into your living room with a sign, but it is.
But you could.
You could.
Let's be honest.
You could bring up at dinner like, hey, heard this really interesting podcast episode today. Did you know that, how people usually say that women are better at multitasking? Did you know that's actually not true? That our brains are the same and it's actually really hard for anybody to do it? And it made me think.
Well, I do think that giving some visibility into that is valuable. My husband's been traveling for a long time, like over 2 weeks. And I was sort of getting the house ready and cleaning up. And then I'd been running a bunch of laundry. And then our bedroom is like the laundry folding room. At which point then we've got 6 things of laundry that are backed up because I haven't been folding them because I've been cleaning the house. And all of this to say, like, my husband is definitely not a person who would come in and be like, why is this room such a mess? I've been away. But I did kind of feel bad that he was coming home to an unmade bed and like socks, like a sock bomb went off in our room, like a sock grenade. Because of course, then I leave them in the baskets and the kids come in and look for socks by throwing socks like cartoon characters over their shoulders while they grab socks. And I think that we see it sometimes in the What Fresh Hell Podcast Facebook group that people do feel bad, and sometimes their spouses do reflect like, hey, it seems to me like you're home all day, and then I come home to a room that literally, my bedroom looks right now like, yeah, there was a sock war that went on between 400 people throwing socks at each other. There's socks like on top of the TV. It's madness. But really kind of digging in a little bit sometimes to Yes, because I've been busy with these 16 other things. You know, you don't have to justify your day. I don't care if you're like lying down, like eating bonbons on the couch all day. Like maybe that's what you need, but
you're not. Yeah. But the point is you're not. Just because there's socks everywhere doesn't mean that that's how you were spending your time. It's just you can't do 10 things at once, actually.
And I also think this is something that I try to make more visible. My kids are now tweens and teens, to my children. Like, I need you to take this room, you to take this room, and you to take this room because, and I'll say, like, you guys have seen me all day doing stuff, right? I'm not getting a break. You guys were on screens for a while. Hope you had fun. Now I need your help. And saying, like, I can't do everything at the same time, so I need you all to pitch in. And believe me, are they like Cinderella's mice? And they're like, yes, we'd love to help. They're not. But I think giving the visibility to how hard it is important.
You have to do it like over and over again.
And over and
yell
over
louder.
again.
I mean, right. Say it again. Like Darcy Lockman has a book called All the Rage. Really good book about these issues. And she talks about the path of least resistance. Yeah. Path of least resistance that can happen in a house. I thought this was a good quote. When heterosexual couples take the path of least resistance, the mother's depth and breadth of experience eventually outpaces the reach of the father. How many parent-teacher conferences and calls from the nurse's office and evites to birthday parties will a mother field alone before her expertise becomes unmatchable? And I feel like this is another way into the same thing we're saying. It's like, I could never do what you do. It's like, I can never do what I do, right? This is all too much for anybody to handle. And reflecting that back instead of why do I have to do everything? It's like, this is as hard for me as it is for anybody, actually. And so.
Right. And there's not a secret. I really like this point that there's not a secret ability that you don't have, that I do have, that allows for this to happen. And I think that that is so generational. I mean, I remember my husband and brother-in-law having kids in like the baby carrier thing. What do you call that thing? Baby Bjorn.
Baby Bjorn.
And walking out, and my dad being very kind of like, whoa. I mean, he wasn't like, what are you to get those babies off of you? But he was definitely like struck by the fact that it was two men wearing babies. Like that was very out of his realm of experience.
Yeah. And if you consume any social media, people are talking about this too, that a guy going to the grocery store wearing a baby and a baby Bjorn would be immediately led to a comfy chair, and everybody, remarking on what a wonderful father this must be to shop and have the baby with him, to do those two things at once. Remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not remarkable. It's very everyday when a woman does it.
Yes, absolutely. And that just taking out of the story the part where, well, I could never. It's like, well, I can't either. So it's not I could never, so you do it. It's this is hard. No one could ever. And so let's split it. Right.
And when you try to do all of these things at once, you're not doing any of them as well as you would if you were doing one thing at a time. And so that has a cost for women too. That's much harder to get at. But you really want to apply for jobs, but you're doing it while you're also making sure that there's no sock bomb in the house. The sock bomb is much more addressable, and it's much more concrete and discreet, and there'll be another sock bomb next week, but you can get to that in that 5 minutes. And then the one big thing that you want to do, you're either not getting to, or you're doing it with less than your best effort because you're also doing 2 and 3 other things at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a cost.
There is. And I think on the flip side, sometimes we tell the story of like, yeah, it's that kind of super momming of motherhood that is moms can do it all. Oh, look at them go. But on the flip side, it's not respected at all. I mean, it's not actually respected in the way that someone who runs a real company would be respected.
So, I mean, what do you do? I don't think that if you have kids and a life and a career, you're going to keep multitasking. It probably won't be possible to stop. But is it with an awareness that I'm going to need to stop doing this right now because this thing is actually important for me to accomplish?
I think it's the radio backing up moments that like you find the time that I can walk to the car carrying a baby, getting it in the car seat and yelling to the other two kids and finding my car keys in my purse. Okay, those things I can do simultaneously. And some of that is muscle memory stuff. It's like,
yeah, you can get better at it.
okay, I am finding, but identify the parts of your day that feel overly hard, that feel super challenging, or identify the things that are not getting done and realize that in order to do some of those things, you would have to stop and do some deeper work on them. That when I get to the point where I'm trying to send work emails, teach my kid about the Magna Carta, and get dinner for 10 ready, that rather than the story in that moment becoming, why am I so frustrated? Or honestly, becoming a person who's just screaming at everybody because I'm so frustrated, to take the moment and to say, I am trying to do something that is impossible. That is why it is hard. It's not hard because I'm not grinding hard enough. I didn't rise and grind hard enough. It's because it's not possible.
And it's not hard because you are uniquely lacking in the natural female ability to do all that stuff. Was never a thing.
Never a thing. Not a thing.
We solved it.
Solved it. There is so much more in the book Happy to Help than this incredible nugget about women's multitasking ability. Happy to Help is on sale now, and you should get it wherever books are sold.
Wherever books are sold and at the link in the show notes. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Great talking to you. We'll talk to you next time.
You can't reason with the sun. Trust us, we've tried. This summer, it's time to put that angry ball of fire on mute. Columbia's Omni-Shade technology is engineered to protect you from the sun's harsh rays that can burn and damage your skin. The sun is relentless, but so is our gear. Level up your summer at Columbia.com to spend more time outside and less time slathering on aloe lotion. You're welcome. Columbia, engineered for whatever.